All right, we are back again for another reaction video. So y'all said to check out the local project, and so that's what we're doing today. To be honest, I don't really know much about this group except for they have a magazine and social media channels where they feature really cool properties in different ways. They've got a lot of followers, so I'm sure they're doing this stuff at a very high level, and there's going to be lots that we can learn from this. So you guys know the drill. We are going to watch the video, get into some initial takeaways and reactions afterwards, and then I'm going to give some practical tips on how you can create videos similar to this and implement some new stuff into your workflows and things that I might do differently too after seeing this. So I hope this video is helpful for you and brings you some value. Now let's get into it. So this one is called Inside a Magical Restored House Originally Built in the 1960s. House Tour. And if you like this video and learned something from it, make sure to go to their channel and like it, leave a comment on what you thought about the production value, what was your favorite part of the video, and stuff like that. Let's get them some engagement. So anyways, let's watch.
The history of the Moore House is quite interesting. It was designed in 1965 by Craig Elwood. It had been owned by a local band that I think used it as a party house, and so it was in quite disrepair. Our client's goals for the project were actually quite simple: to save the home, renovate it, and thoughtfully and delicately bring it into the 21st century. There is a history in Los Angeles of mid-century tropical modernism. The house itself is actually quite the same. The 1,700 square foot rectangle that rests above an open carport. And it's essentially an open truss structure. It's a pavilion, and in between are planes of glass. We actually went to great efforts to restore and keep all of the structural elements. Another element on the interior of the home that we kept, which we felt was very strong, were the two bookends of the main entry space. One being the original firebox, which we kept in its proportion and location, but then wrapped it in a patinaed brass, and then made a galley kitchen, which is much more efficient in terms of the use of space. Many of the details that we used in this home were pulled from the original design, but upgraded. We would ask ourselves, if Craig Elwood had the technology at the time, what way might he choose to go? For example, all the panels that you see now are Burmese teak panels. Those were an upgrade to a painted white drywall. We took a similar stance on the hardwood flooring. We have upgraded to be consistent with the teak paneling so that the floors are now reclaimed Burmese teak in the same proportion and same layout as the original construction. One of our goals is to really reduce the number of permanent materials that we use in a home so that items like drapery and furnishings and rugs and textiles can really be the pop. The owners wanted to play on the high contrast in the original Moore House. What we end up with are marbles and stone throughout the project. We have a lovely tile backsplash, which is somewhat of an art installation when looking at the kitchen through the living room. We used the same concrete masonry units that are on the foundation of the original Moore House. We want to respect the history so that these historic landmarks are here for the next generation. For a project such as the Moore House, we want to avoid fads. We want to be timeless. We're very proud that the owners love being a part of the history of Los Angeles in an iconic mid-century home. We have had the opportunity to work on a few other Craig Elwood homes and some other mid-century architects in Los Angeles, and our goal is always to preserve and restore, and hope that someone in 60, 80 years feels that the home has value and wants to do the same thing.
All right, well, that was cool. Really, really nice production value. All the shots and their color balance and everything was just like insanely clean. Exactly how you would hope that they would come out if you're shooting architecture or real estate. Putting my headphones up. So really, really cool house. That definitely helps a lot. It's got a lot of natural light. Good natural light equals good colors. Obviously having a really good camera, whatever they're using, looked really great. That helps with your colors too, and really good camera work. This is the first video that I've seen from them, and the production value and quality is just really, really nice. So just as a normal viewer, I thought this was really cool. It was really informative about the house, and it showed a lot of really cool perspectives that you wouldn't have normally thought about. And it was very different compared to your typical, real estate video where it's just a high speed chase through the house. So production value, I would definitely give this at least a 9 out of 10. There were a few things I didn't really like about the editing, but that's just personal nitpicky stuff. But color grading, camera movements, variety of shots, I thought they did a great job. All right, so what did I personally learn from watching that? So definitely makes me want to shoot in RAW because the dynamic range and the look that they had for all their shots was just top quality. It looked really great. Another thing that I learned that I've been trying to implement into my own projects more and more lately is that they had a really great variety of camera movement shots versus still shots that showed natural movements. So like the light hitting the wall, or the record player playing, or the pool moving, or the fish in the pond as they walked by. If you had a fancy camera movement, it might be kind of distracting from stuff like that. So just a small lesson to learn is that if there's already movement that could be happening in the frame, you don't necessarily have to have camera movement adding to that. I really liked the amount of lifestyle kind of shots that they incorporated in the video, where the guy was walking around, opening cabinets, walking past the fish pond, all the stuff that he was doing. I feel like it gave a little bit of life to the house and makes you imagine yourself interacting with it too. So those are definitely handy when you're filming a inanimate object, a house, and want to bring some life to that. So a few things I actually didn't like were that when the guy was talking on camera, almost every time the editor put keyframing to where it was slowly like zooming towards him. And I felt like that was just kind of pointless. So it kind of makes the shot feel a little bit weird or like slightly kind of stressful. Like why are you zooming in towards the person? There's not really a big reason to. I definitely wouldn't have done that on as many of the shots, but I understand why they would do that in the edit to make it a little more interesting. But not totally necessary, just like the point a couple points ago about camera movement. So the next thing was just the audio spacing. I felt like there were a few too many gaps that made what he was saying seem a little bit robotic or like disingenuous, or it's hard to explain, but it was like you could tell that they had either edited it or added a little bit of space where it wouldn't naturally fall in someone's speech patterns. So it's just a little bit off for me, but it is what it is, and I totally understand that when you're editing these kind of things, you are working with what you got, and there's usually an important reason behind choosing to do something like that. I would imagine that what they were using was some kind of small cinema camera, so probably a Blackmagic cinema camera or a Sony cinema camera. So definitely some wide shots, some medium shots, some tighter shots, some more telephoto shots with the views that they were showing of the city from the house. I would imagine they had a 70 to 200 for that, and a just typical normal real estate stuff. So 16 to 35, 50, and a 70 to 200 would probably cover everything. And don't forget to add the drone in there. But I would imagine that with the variety of shots they did, so moving shots, still shots, time lapses, they probably just had a gimbal, a tripod, a drone, and I didn't really notice any shots that looked like they would have had to been done on a slider, like a motion time lapse or something. So I imagine they probably didn't use one. Sliders take a lot of extra time, as you guys have seen in some of my tutorials. For the interview shots, they only had one camera setup, which was a little bit different than the last one. And for that one, I would imagine they were filming at either like 24 or 35, which is what I'm filming at right now. So pretty similar setup to what I'm filming with right now. I've got a key light right off to the side. They're obviously pros at production, so I would imagine they're probably using lights, but they might have also just set up in a really good spot in front of a window that had great natural light. So always work with what you got, but if you can add light to get better catch light in their eyes, more color on their face, more color in their eyes, it's always nice. But their interview setup for this one seemed really professional. So I would imagine they probably used a light. And I didn't notice a lav mic, but the way the audio sounded, very like bassy, kind of chesty, I would imagine that they had a lav mic inside the guy's shirt. They could have had a boom mic overhead also. So just a classic interview setup, a classic real estate-y setup, and high quality camera. That's what you need to make a video like this. Last thing, workflow. How would I produce this? So I think, just like I said in the last one, I think doing the interview part would be really handy first, just because you have the most equipment in the way, you have the most people involved, and all those things. So have it written beforehand completely. I think they were probably reading it off a script. So have a lot of pre-production, build that story. I think they had it in either 3 or 4 parts that were kind of separated by music, which was really cool. I thought it kept it interesting, kept it fresh, added energy and feeling to the story, which I thought worked really well. So get the whole interview knocked out. Then I would go through and get all the more lifestyle kind of shots. So the guy demonstrating all the different features, walking around, interacting with the house and all that stuff. Maybe have those planned out beforehand so you can just quickly check it off a list and work through them, get that guy sent home after he's done. Actually, first, probably what they did was set up the time-lapse cameras first, because they take a long time to film. So you can set that up, do all your interview stuff, and have those done within a couple hours once you're done with your interview. And then after that, go through, get all your shots of the guy walking around and everything. And then after that, get all your normal real estate kind of shots. I would just go through, get all my wide shots, then get all my medium shots, then get all my tight shots, zoomed in to see the city and all that. And then last but not least, I would probably get the drone shot. Maybe get another time-lapse shot while you're doing the drone shot. And then that's a wrap. You just got a lot of editing to do. So, final thoughts. Who should do videos like this? What are they going to be good for? Etc. I think these are going to be more for architects or for interior designers, and not really for real estate agents, because typically a realtor is not going to know the history of why a house was made. Most neighborhoods just have, here's the design, here's the house, these people bought it, lived here for 5 years, sold it, the end. There's not that much interesting history. So it's not going to be really applicable for most real estate scenarios. But if you are one that has more historical houses, more luxury houses, more really old houses, it could be really cool to do a little bit more storytelling in your videos. So more for architects, more for interior designers, more for builders, or I guess if you have a magazine and YouTube channel featuring houses like this, like The Local Project. So I thought that was a lot of fun to watch, and I think they did a great job. There's definitely lots to learn from. I hope this was valuable for you to see, and you enjoyed also watching it and learning from their really nicely produced videos. So if you got any questions, leave them down in the comments. If you got any suggestions for future reaction videos or ideas for things I should do, like maybe try to recreate stuff like this, or I don't know, leave it in the comments, and I would love to hear y'all's ideas. So Anyways, thanks so much for joining, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Peace.